In Mark 14, the stage is set, and the hour on which the greatest event of history is being framed. In a short time, Christ will be suffering the things he'd often spoken of to his disciples, and he would soon be hanging on a Roman cross in open shame on behalf of a scornful world. There are both tension and anticipation in the air, knowing the unspeakable pain that will ensue, but also knowing the will of the Father and the victory that will result therefrom. Following their final meal and communion with the Messiah, Jesus says in verse 27, "All of you will be made to stumble because of me this night, for it is written, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep will be scattered. But after I have been raised, I will go before you to Galilee." Then Peter boldly responds, "Even if all are made to stumble, yet I will not be." Precious Peter. One can see the expressions of patient affection on the face of Christ at such instances. Peter doesn't realize that he's in fact countering what is being foretold by divine authority. He's expressing a devotion and love for this teacher whom he has professed wholeheartedly as the Son of God, in spite of his own repeated missteps. He sincerely believes this statement to be true. How often I have spoken similar dialogue in my prayer closet. "I'll not deny you before this hostile world," I say. "I'll not commit this iniquity again, I promise." Granted, I've never openly denied Jesus as Peter did, but in fairness, I've never been in Peter's circumstances. However, my actions and responses have at times denied him, as they have shaken the very foundations of my testimony before those of whom I'm called to be a witness. I have little doubt that I would stand for Christ even as a blade were put to my neck. However, I find it so strange that it seems harder to stand fast in the day-to-day grind of this life. I suppose it's because there are many more shades of gray within the bustle of this life, and many more things in which evil can hide in the subdued surroundings of daily existence, whereas it must be simply black and white when one's longevity is challenged with threat of death. However, this is a topic for another day. The primary point is that Peter is much like you and I. There are times that we hear the pre-verbal rooster crow only to realize we have egregiously sinned without even having prior consciousness thereof. The rooster crowed for Peter, and he wept bitterly. This was a time of constructive destruction for Peter, and the same is true for you and I. As we stumble, we learn. As we fail, we grow. The Lord's mercy allows us to be human for this season. It allows us to fall, yet also allows us many an opportunity to rise and give it another try, having undergone the sanctifying properties of brokenness and humility. The Lord did not discard Peter upon his stumbling. Rather, he went on to be a mighty and bold purveyor of the gospel. Peter would not see perfection until glorification, as will no man. Still, this did not stop him from being mighty in God. Rather, it is a testimony that echoes through the ages that, along with that of the patriarchs and many other biblical figures, that the Lord uses the faulty and flawed for mighty things. There is no time to wallow in shallowly perceived defeat given the victory that's already been granted. In our weakness, the Lord shows himself strong. This will not change, for no matter our past failures, he is the same yesterday, today, and forever.